This is Thriving Thoughts, a podcast that teaches you how to change your thoughts so you can change your life. I'm Dr. Sherri, clinical psychologist turned thought coach. In each 5-minute episode of the Thriving Thoughts podcast, we will discover one lie we believe about ourselves, others, or the world that lures us into a surviving mindset. Then we'll learn the truth that leads us into a thriving thought world. And to bridge the gap between knowing and doing, I'll teach you one practical thought tool you can start to use right away. Consider me your personal thought coach, and each episode your personal thought coaching session. I want you to thrive, to grow, flourish, and prosper. And here's your first truth. If you want to thrive, you have to choose to do the work. The daily deliberate work of changing the way you think so you can change your life. Welcome to the Thriving Thoughts community. Let's get ready to speak truth over the lies so we can thrive in any and every circumstance. Have you ever felt like you're the only one pulling your weight? You're spinning your wheels, working diligently to make sure every T is crossed and I dotted, but you look around and see others with their arms proverbially crossed. Your contributions have become expected because without you, the show just wouldn't go on. Expectations of your uncompromising performance yield to feeling under or unappreciated and ultimately resentful, all culminating in burnout. In their 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, or ICD-11, the World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. The fact that they're including it in a classification of diseases manual indicates the popular and false belief that stress and burnout are foisted upon an individual rather than determined by the individual. What if we could prevent stress rather than seeing it as unavoidable or learning to cope with it? Sure, some stressors are unavoidable. Our response is not. We'll touch on that in a future episode. But so much of what we refer to as stress can be managed by being aware of ourselves, can be prevented by something that some of us call being selfish. Let's talk about volunteering and why we get burned out. I believe it's because we're not intentional about our motivation for volunteering, nor are we diligent in defining what we will and won't do in the process of delivering that intention. You may set out to do a good deed because you see a need, but have you asked yourself, am I the right person to fill this need? Am I good at it? Does it come naturally to me? What are my current available time and mental bandwidth resources? It's true that, as I say, you were created on purpose for a purpose and the world needs you. But if you step into a purpose without deliberation and intention, you could be setting yourself up for exhaustion, resentment, and ultimately burnout. Let me clear the air here. We are selfish creatures. Even when we do something good for someone, it makes us feel good. That's not an ushy-gushy feeling, by the way. That's a chemical reaction, a dopamine rush that makes you want to do that thing again and again. In this sense, then, everything is selfish, and maybe selfishness isn't a bad thing. Because in order to be selfless, or without self, we must first know the self to know what we have to use to serve others. And setting aside your time, gifts, and energy to serve someone through volunteering is selfless. And you'll never serve effectively or feel like you're having an impact if you aren't first selfish enough to evaluate with intention which volunteer opportunities are a good fit for you. In 2020, I started a nonprofit, Thriving Thoughts Global. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Thriving Thoughts Global to learn more. And to fill my board of directors positions, I reached out first to women I already knew. I also asked them not to just say yes because I needed them, not to just say yes because the idea of teaching women to thrive by changing their thought habits sounds impactful, but to carefully evaluate why the opportunity would be a good fit. By and large, people aren't going to ask you that. They're going to say, I really need help. Would you please help me? Don't believe the lie that you have to step in just because someone needs you. Perhaps someone at your church is asking you to be the head of the drama team because there's a hole there. But if you have no passion for drama, even if you have time and mental bandwidth, you will set both yourself and the ministry up for failure. A research article from the Journal of Applied Social Psychology demonstrated that extrinsic motivations, because there's a need or someone asks you, are directly related to burnout, while intrinsic motivations have an inverse relationship with burnout, meaning burnout rarely happens when someone is intentional about ensuring the volunteer opportunity aligns with who they are and the resources they have. Don't believe the lie that just because you can, you should, or the lie that I have to do this because it has to be done, and if I don't do it, no one else will. Yourself will thank you, and so will those to whom you want to be selfless toward. Own the truth. You have the power to prevent burnout by being aware of your resources and being diligent to deliver them in a way that doesn't deplete, but rather fuels. Share the love and share the show by tagging at Dr.Sherri Speaks on Instagram and using the hashtag Thriving Thoughts with Dr. Sherri. Until next time, speak truth over the lies, and you will thrive in any and every circumstance.